Hi, how are you doing? Luna is one of the most popular characters in My Little Pony Friendship's Magic, and that's obviously no coincidence. As I'll hopefully outline in this video, Luna is a complicated character with many layers, but all of them have an underlying theme of guilt, pain, and more overall negative emotion. Through this video, I'll be talking about Luna, from her pre-show origins and fall to her post-redemption struggle, from jealousy in Nightmare Moon to self-hate with the Tantabus. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy, and on with the video. When you look at Luna's story, the seeds of tragedy were planted long before she ever became Nightmare Moon. On paper, she's a co-ruler of Equestria, equal in title and authority to her sister, but the reality of that balance was anything but equal. Celestia ruled over day when ponies lived their lives, worked their jobs and filled the streets with activity, and Luna ruled over the night, where most of Equestria was asleep. From the very beginning, the two sisters governed completely different worlds. And just to make it clear, I'm not insinuating Luna's role was any less important. Guarding every pony's dreams in the night in general is essential in Equestria, but naturally, it's gonna get less recognition since every pony is unconscious as she does it. And that difference mattered. Celestia's light was celebrated, festivals were held for the dawn, ponies cherished her warmth and the daytime was filled with energy. Luna's night, on the other hand, was something ponies simply passed through. They slept through her work. Her kingdom was one of silence, no applause, no cheering crowds, and no grateful subjects gazing up at her in awe. Just the stillness of the moon and the faint sound of crickets. This is where Luna starts to stand out from other villains in My Little Pony. Most villains in the show want power or control or revenge. Luna did want that, yes, you can't argue, but more than that, she had a desire to be seen. She wanted recognition, love, the assurance that her work mattered, and when that never came, her feelings festered into something darker. It's worth pausing here, because this kind of emotional wound hits at something very human. How many times have we felt overlooked? How many times have we wanted someone to notice our effort, to acknowledge that we matter? Luna's story taps into that deep insecurity that lives in so many of us. The fear that no matter what we do, we'll never measure up, never be valued, never be loved. Of course, in Luna's case, that insecurity had catastrophic consequences. Her bitterness transformed into jealousy of Celestia, who seemed to receive all of the love and adoration she never got. The more ponies celebrated the day, the more invisible Luna felt. And as jealousy often does, it twisted into anger. If they wouldn't love her for a night, then she would force them to. This was the first step on her path to becoming Nightmare Moon. Not simply a lust for power, but the breaking point of her heart that had been ignored for too long. When Luna's resentment did finally boil over, it didn't manifest as quiet sulking, it became a full rejection of everything she'd once stood for. If ponies wouldn't love the night willingly, she'd make them love it by taking away the day altogether. It had turned from just jealousy against her sister to a full-on declaration of war, against the natural balance of Equestria, and even against the ponies she had once wanted to protect. The birth of Nightmare Moon is one of the most dramatic transformations in the show's lore. Luna's frustration twisted into something more monstrous, amplifying every dark thought she'd ever had. The softer side of her, the one that only wanted appreciation, was buried under armor and rage. What makes this transformation so chilling is that it wasn't some outside force possessing her. It was her own emotions, her own pain, given form. Nightmare Moon was Luna, just Luna at her absolute worst. Her declaration to shroud Equestria in eternal night was less about domination and more about desperation. Think about what she meant. She would rather plunge the world into darkness than continue to feel invisible. It's a terrifying thought, but one that feels grounded in the psychology of someone who has been pushed past their breaking point. Celestia's response made this tragedy even sharper, because while Nightmare Moon raged, Celestia didn't see just a villain, she saw her sister. Her only choice was to use the elements of harmony, a weapon she knew would tear them apart. Luna was banished, imprisoned in the very moon she once raised. In that single moment, Equestria lost her princess, Celestia lost her sister, and Luna lost 1,000 years of her life. What makes this part of the story even worse is that her punishment didn't solve anything. Banishment stopped Nightmare Moon from conquering Equestria, but it didn't heal Luna. It left her stewing in her bitterness, alone with nothing but the memory of her betrayal. Every moment she spent on the moon reinforced the very feelings that had driven her there in the first place. Abandonment, loneliness, rejection. By the time Nightmare Moon finally returned, she wasn't just angry at Celestia anymore. She was angry at the entire world that had ignored her, that had forgotten her name and worshipped the sun in her absence. To Luna, her banishment wasn't justice, it was proof that she was right all along. No one cared about her, no one ever would. This is what makes the fall of Luna such a compelling tragedy. It isn't just the story of a villain being defeated, but of a sister who felt invisible, who tried to demand love through force, and who paid the price with a millennium of solitude. By the time she returns in the show's present, she's not simply a character with a troubled past. She's someone whose entire identity has been defined by that fall. Everything that comes after, every moment of guilt, redemption and isolation, is shaped by this first and greatest mistake. When Luna returned from her banishment, she re-entered a world that had moved on without her. 1,000 years had passed, the ponies who once feared her were long gone, and even the memory of who she truly was had faded into legend. That in itself is an unbearable weight. How do you step back into a life when the world has erased you? For some characters, redemption in My Little Pony is quick and clean. They make a mistake, they learn a lesson, they become a better version of themselves. Luna is different. Her story lingers in an uncomfortable space after the magic fades. She has to live with the fact that the harm she caused is carved into history. What makes Luna compelling is the fact that her guilt isn't temporary. It isn't a hurdle to be cleared as she can move on, it follows her everywhere, shaping her self-image and her actions. There's an awkwardness in how she reintegrates into equestrian life, caution that speaks to how fragile she feels inside. She knows she has a second chance, but second chances don't erase what came before. In many ways, she doesn't need anyone else to remind her of her mistakes. She does that herself. Her own mind becomes the constant courtroom where she's always on trial. This makes her redemption arc much less about forgiveness from others, but more about reconciliation with herself. Ponies can forgive her, Celestia can forgive her, but if Luna doesn't forgive herself, then she's never really free. That tension rubs through every appearance she has after her return. She doesn't stride into the spotlight to reclaim her throne, she drifts back into the world like someone afraid of breaking it again, aware of how fragile her place really is. And yet, Luna doesn't simply retreat. Instead, she carries on in her role. She takes ownership of the dreamscape, guiding ponies through their nightmares, helping them confront the fears they can't face while awake. There's something deeply personal about the way she approaches this duty. The dream realm isn't public. It's intimate, private, even invisible. The only ones who know the work she does are the individuals she helps in their most vulnerable moments. And that suits her. Instead of chasing that kind of validation that once corrupted her, she embraces a quieter, more genuine form of service. She doesn't need the whole world to praise her, she needs to know she's making a difference, even if no one else sees it. Still, her guilt is never gone. It doesn't dissolve because she's helping others. If anything, it sharpens her drive. Every nightmare she banishes, every anxious foal she comforts, feels like one more brick removed from the tower of shame she built for herself. Redemption, for Luna, is less about becoming someone new and more about constantly working to undo the harm of who she was. It isn't neat, and it certainly isn't easy, but that's what makes it resonate so strongly. Compared to other redemption arcs in the series, Luna's feels very authentic because it never reaches a definitive end. There is no moment where she's simply done. The guilt lingers and the work continues. The shadow of Nightmare Moon never truly leaves her. And that's not a flaw in her writing, it's the point. Luna embodies the truth that redemption isn't a finish line but a lifelong process. It's not about erasing the past, it's about learning how to live with it, and that is far more interesting than any simple transformation ever could be. One of the clearest insights into Luna's struggles comes from the Season 5 episode, Do Princesses Dream of Magic Sheep? For all her quiet guilt and reserved demeanour, that episode pulls the curtain back on just how far her self-punishment goes. For those who may not be familiar with the episode, the story basically goes, Luna creates a monster to haunt her dreams, the Tantabus, a creature designed to torment her, to keep her suffering, to ensure she never forgets the harm she caused as Nightmare Moon. And that takes first the main six, and then the entirety of Ponyville to ultimately help her defeat what is literally her inner demon, and stop it from escaping the dream realm. This isn't a subtle allegory, it's a direct metaphor for self-harm, but deliberately inflicting pain as a form of penance. And it's heartbreaking, because it shows that deep down, Luna doesn't believe she deserves healing. To her, guilt isn't just a shadow that follows her, it's a punishment she has to actively maintain. At this point of the show, pretty much every pony in Equestria has forgiven Luna and accepted her back as one of their princesses, except Luna herself. This episode shows us that Luna is basically constantly struggling with her own past and isn't able to forgive herself for her actions, even when every pony else has. Luna is defined by contrasts. She embodies mystery and majesty, yet she is approachable in her quiet empathy. She holds immense power, commanding the night and the dreams of every pony, yet she rarely seeks recognition for it. Her presence is subtle but pervasive. She shapes the world without demanding attention. That duality gives her a depth that few characters in Equestria possess. Her personality carries layers of complexity. She can be solemn and introspective, weighing every action and considering the consequences of her influence. Yet she can also be playful, even mischievous, particularly when guiding ponies through dreams or engaging with those who show curiosity about her world. That blend of gravitas and lightness make her feel real. She's not defined by a single trait or role, but by the interplay of many qualities. Luna's role as Princess of the Night shapes not just her duties, but her outlook. She is accustomed to operating in the shadows, observing rather than being observed, listening rather than speaking. This cultivates a thoughtful and patient nature. She sees what others miss, the small fears and the hidden struggles, the nuances of emotion, and acts with care in ways that rarely make headlines. In a world full of bright personalities and dramatic gestures, Luna's power is quiet but undeniable. Her appearance and design reinforce her character traits. The deep blues, flowing mane, and crescent moon motif evoke serenity, elegance, and mystery, yet there is a subtle intensity in her gaze and posture, hinting at the weight of her responsibilities and the intelligence behind her composure. Every visual element tells a story. Luna is not merely a ruler of the night, but a figure who balances grace, strength, and introspection. Beyond looks, Luna resonates because she embodies emotions and experiences that many people understand. She represents isolation, responsibility, and a quiet struggle for significance. Unlike characters whose arcs revolve around dramatic victories or applause, Luna's strength is measured in persistence and reflection. She reminds viewers that meaningful impact doesn't require being the center of attention. Her influence exists even when it's unseen, and that lends her a certain poignancy and realism. The thing that really sticks out about her to me is that she does basically all of her work alone, at night, when almost no pony sees her. Yet when she enters a pony's dream to protect or guide them, she always manages to be a relatable and safe voice for that pony, despite, again, being alone the entire night, and, don't forget, constantly struggling with her inner pain and guilt. I'm not commending her for bottling up her emotions and putting on a happy face while feeling anything but it, because that's definitely not a good thing to do, but I just thought I'd mention it as it really makes you think about what she's going through, and the thought behind it is commendable, even if the actual action isn't. She wants to help ponies, and to do that she has to be a safe, calming force for them in their dreams, even if underneath she doesn't feel that way. She also challenges traditional notions of heroism. Where others might define courage as confrontational triumph, Luna's courage is about vigilance, patience, and understanding. She faces challenges that are intangible, emotional, and complex, and she navigates them with subtlety. The approach makes her a model of quiet resilience, a reminder that leadership and influence often work best when tempered with thoughtfulness rather than spectacle. Ultimately, Luna's appeal lies in her enduring complexity. She embodies power without arrogance, solitude without bitterness, and authority mixed with empathy. She is simultaneously majestic, approachable, mystical, and relatable. Luna stands out as a character whose impact is profound in a series that often celebrates heroics and expressive personalities. She's not just the princess of the night, she's a reflection of the parts of ourselves that exist in quiet, thoughtful spaces, waiting to be noticed and appreciated. Luna's appeal isn't just about her magical powers or the dramatic arcs of Nightmare Moon and Redemption. It's about what she represents, both as a character and a symbol. She embodies part of the human experience that is rarely addressed in a show aimed at younger audiences. Isolation. The quiet burden of responsibility, the struggle to reconcile personal mistakes with a desire to do good, and the constant tension between visibility and invisibility. These are emotions and experiences that resonate with viewers because they feel real. Luna doesn't need applause to matter, and yet we can all relate to the longing to be recognized for what we do, especially when it goes unseen. One of the most compelling aspects of Luna is how she balances her immense power with vulnerability. She's the princess of the night, a cosmic figure who commands dreams and stars, yet she's also quietly human, or pony, but you know what I mean, in her insecurities and self-reflection. That combination creates a character who is simultaneously awe-inspiring and relatable. She teaches that strength isn't always loud or performative. Sometimes it's the ability to endure, to act with empathy, and to influence the world subtly, consistently, and thoughtfully. Luna's quiet heroism is a lesson in resilience. You don't need a cheering crowd to make a difference, and you definitely don't need to be unflawed to be admirable. Luna thrives in the stillness of the night, a world that goes largely unnoticed. That contrast is not only visually striking, but thematically rich. She reminds viewers that every world, no matter how silent or shadowed, has meaning and value. Another reason Luna resonates is her authenticity. She doesn't pretend to be perfect, and she doesn't expect the world to forgive her mistakes automatically. She carries her past as a shadow, yet she doesn't allow it to define her completely. She navigates her duties, her relationships, and her own psyche with a combination of care, humility, and determination. This makes her arcs feel earned, and her moments of triumph or connection all the more meaningful. Watching Luna interact with other characters, whether guiding them through dreams or offering counsel, is compelling precisely because she's a fully realised character who operates in her own terms, with her own moral compass, and with awareness of her limitations. Luna also embodies the idea that heroism can be quiet and measured. Her courage is subtle. It's seen in her vigilance over Equestria, her patience in addressing the fears of those she protects, and her perseverance in managing her own inner turmoil while continuing to serve others. Her enduring legacy in the fandom also comes from the way she sparks discussion and analysis. Like this video, am I right? Fans are drawn to her because she's multi-layered. She invites interpretation and speculation, and personal connection. Some are fascinated by her moral ambiguity as Nightmare Moon, while others are captivated by her quiet dignity and the empathy she shows as a guardian of the night. She's a character who prompts questions. How does someone reconcile power with vulnerability? Can guilt and past mistakes coexist with meaningful growth? What does it mean to serve others when your work is largely unseen? These questions don't have easy answers, and that ambiguity makes her character worth revisiting again and again. Her impact goes beyond narrative or character appeal. She also functions as a thematic touchstone for the series. She reminds audiences that balance is necessary, that darkness is as vital as light, and that introspection and reflection are just as heroic as bold action. Through her, the series explores the complexity of human, or equine, emotion in a nuanced way. She's not merely a cautionary tale or redeemed villain, she's a study in resilience, identity, and empathy. Finally, Luna resonates because she gives a voice to the unseen and quiet. She is a mirror for those who feel overlooked or undervalued, showing that influence and meaning are not always measured by attention or applause. She demonstrates that living with mistakes, carrying responsibility, and striving to do better despite lingering guilt is not a weakness, but a form of bravery. In a show often defined by overt positivity and clear victories, Luna's subtle, enduring strength offers a more complex and, dare I say, human perspective. In the end, Luna's a reflection of the quiet, thoughtful, and sometimes conflicted aspects of ourselves. She reminds us that impact isn't always visible, that strength can be subtle, and that redemption is a journey rather than a destination. I really love that sentence, don't I? Her story resonates because it is timeless. It speaks to anyone that's felt unseen, anyone who's struggled with their own darkness, and anyone who has worked to make a difference without expecting recognition. Luna is enduring because she represents what is often overlooked but profoundly important, the power of quiet courage, empathy, and reflection. And that's it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I knew when I made the poll that Luna was most likely to win, and I assure everyone who voted for the other characters I will most likely make those videos. I just wanted to see which one you guys wanted first, and at the same time show you guys what the next video was going to be about. As I mentioned at the end of the Cadence video, when someone asks my favourite princess, I always say Luna. Or used to. I actually think I prefer Cadence now, but that's not important. This is Luna's video. She was my favourite from when I first started watching the show, mainly because of her design and overall aura of mystery mixed with calm authority. Anywho, that's just me. What do you guys think about Luna? Let me know in the comments. If you did enjoy the video, why not leave a like? And while you're down there, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to support the channel even more, you could become a channel member. Thanks to the Red Ravioli, Creative Zone, and Max Gut for being monotonal members. I won't keep you any longer now, so till next week, thanks for watching, I've been Monodash, and I'll see you sometime soon.
Ha ha! The fun has been done!